Okay, we'll call the meeting to order.
The first blush to get the public meeting, and then we can still do edits.
Makes all the difference in the world.
You all set, John?
You wanna talk about the airport?
Just 'cause you got on TV today.
Just the airport committee? No.
Okay, need a resolution to approve the minutes of the last meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Evelyn, second by John. Any changes, corrections? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, Wayne.
The first item is also a pending item, that's the elimination, the request by the department to eliminate the 911 fees for individual, 911 addresses. It's, you know, as Sarah indicated last month, we have about 4,000 parcels that under the new state system we have to assign 911 addresses to, that currently don't for whatever reason. And it's just, you know, it's to the point where it's impractical to try to, you know, send bills out to homeowners or property owners who aren't even expecting anything. So, it's just, it takes a lot of time to do each one. It's $15. Last year we did a little over $1,000 worth of revenue from it. It's not like, you know, something that's gonna break the department's budget if we don't receive that revenue.
I think you said at the last meeting,
Yeah.
we talked about this, that you actually spent more than that on it, so.
Yes.
I'll make a motion.
Motion by Evelyn, second by
Motion.
John. Any discussion?
I know the county attorney was supposed to look into this because it's a local law. I don't know if he followed up on that or not, but
I don't either.
My recommendation would be that if the committee wants to eliminate this, that the direction be to the county attorney to draft an amendment if necessary, or a resolution.
Would you add that to your resolution, and you'll second it, John? Okay, if there's no further discussion, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next.
okay, I'd like to make, 2 staffing, changes. It's not really a change, it's just an increase in hours. They're identified here, the GIS technician, which was a temporary, 3-month position. I'd like to extend out to the term of a grant, that was awarded to the county for the hazardous mitigation plan. We'll use revenue from that, with, soil and water, conservation to, offset that salary. It's better if the county does it rather than contract it out, because A, we'll have a much better product, B, we'll have all the data in-house rather than at a consultant's facility. We have the technician who is like a half of Sarah's rate, and we can assign him to that, and it just makes the most sense.
Okay. Probably cleaner if we do it as 2 separate resolutions.
I'll move the first one.
You move the GIS coordinator from 20 to 28 hours a week.
I'll second.
Second by John, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Okay, and again, the second one is that move the technician from a 3-month to a 15-month. Now, I've talked to the personnel office, and Trish has indicated that by the time there's personnel and finance, she'll have this all figured out as to how we're gonna do it, but she understands what we're trying to do, and you know, says it's all doable. It's just a matter of putting the proper mechanics in place, so.
Okay, I'll move it.
Paul?
Maybe, so that we, Mr. Chairman and members of the committee, I just wanna make sure that everybody is clear on a couple of points on this, though. The hazard mitigation grant is being managed by Soil and Water, as I'm sure you're aware, as Wayne said. What they would have done, as you've indicated, is contract out for these services, and certainly we can do them in-house, but the point that I'm concerned about is, just so the committee is aware, that this is a 75% reimbursable grant. Now, Jim Lieberman's hoping that his services, Brian LaFleur's services, and whatever else can be used to offset some of this, but it's also possible that there may not be enough. And in conversing with Wayne the other day, I think, Wayne, you thought there might be, almost 20,000 here used for these services?
Yes, yes.
And so that means there'd be a $5,000 match. Now, if we're not able to, and even if we were able to, I guess, ultimately offset it, it won't be in his department. So his budget could be short, and Brian's may be over, for instance, because we're able to claim some of the services there, or Soil and Water may be over. So, I just wanna make sure everybody's aware of the fact that this could come out a little funny at the end of the year in terms of, well, they still need money in their department. Now, the good news is that we did budget, I think, Frank, 10,000, I think, towards this whole thing this year, and we're planning on 10,000 next year, so we should have some cash available to offset, and it shouldn't be that much money anyway, and I certainly agree with Wayne that this is a good idea. But I just concerned at the end of the year, if all of a sudden, money is needed, I just wanna make sure everybody was aware of why.
All right, John, with that additional information, you still,
Yes, I still move it
okay?
forward.
Second it.
Second by Evelyn. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Next.
The third one relates to the agenda item number 2 there. It's just to amend the department's table of organization for those hours as identified.
Okay, moved by Evelyn,
Second.
second by John. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Okay, referrals, the first one's already taken care of. Second one, county being the only county in the state church, okay, same thing.
Yeah, that's, the only other thing I'd like to add is that we are tentatively right now scheduling under the First Wilderness Program, a public meeting for March 25th at the Lake Luzerne, Senior Center. That would be to discuss the update to the plan and the action plan. It's a requirement of our contract with the state to do that. It's all subject to the state approving the drafts that we have, are in the process of submitting them, to the state. So it may get moved back a week, but, the grant award that is funding the update to the plan expires, the end of June. And this is one of the last steps that we need, to, update the action plan elements.
Yeah.
Last time the action plan was updated was 2004, so what this does is give us all the projects identified in the plan that we then go out for funding, which keeps us busy.
You have a time for that on the 25th?
It'd be, I'm sorry, 6 to 8 in the evening.
Okay. Thank you.
And thanks to Supervisor Molino for offering the
Oh,
space.
sorry, Gene.
Just not want to disappear. Any way we can change that from 5 to 7?
Sure.
Because we just got a notification that the Republican Party is meeting that night for endorsements.
We can do that.
Do that from 5 to 7 if you didn't put out too many people yet.
We haven't, so we can do that.
Okay.
I had something a little different. I've been working with, Pat Tadich, from planning. We're working on closing out the culvert and storm grant that Thurman and Bolton issued through the county. And Pat sent me an email with some bullet points. She just asked me to bring them up as an update in committee so everybody kind of know where we are. The original grant award was $339,062 for the projects in each town. We've gone through and done most of the paperwork. The initial problem was the women and minority-owned business. It was difficult, so we're in the process of applying for a waiver with that. Another issue cropped up apparently, and she's working very hard to resolve the issue. And apparently another project was in the funding award but wasn't really funded, and there was some confusion there. So Pat's been working through to get that taken care of. But it looks like we may come back, because that other project nobody seems to know anything about, and ask for reduction in the grant award, which will actually increase what we use for women and minority-owned businesses, which will be beneficial for getting the waiver. So Pat just asked that I bring that up and let everybody know we're still working on it. It's out there, just not quite complete yet.
I'll add to that, from the perspective of administrating this, there was no administrative dollars in this grant award. And so we've been absorbing that in the department's operations, but this has become a nightmare. We're on our 4th representative from ESD, Empire State Development. And every time they change, you have to retrain them. It's like, okay, this is our project, and you start all over. I submitted the waiver, the minority waiver in June. We never heard anything, come to find out that person had retired, and no one knew where the paperwork was. So we started to resubmit it, and now it's all new people, and they're saying it's a whole different project. And what Supervisor Wood alluded to, that there was about $14,000 or $15,000 in there that actually was supposed to be the New York State offset to FEMA money. Well, the FEMA money was never awarded, but the offset's in there, so we're trying to figure out what to do with that. We had no knowledge that that's what it was, but apparently there was a letter that came to the county that was signed and returned acknowledging receipt of that, and we've been trying for 3 years to figure out what that money is for. And they sent us a copy of the letter and, oh, yeah, okay, we did acknowledge it. So, we're trying to back into that as best we can, but, the town has been, both towns have, been very gracious in holding on to, the expenditures that they incurred, and town of Thurman was, significant. And from our perspective, what we'd really like to do is at least move half the money of the programs to the towns, because we know we'll get at least that back. And then, once the final reimbursement comes in from the state, then we'd square up with whatever the remaining balance would be. But I think it's fair at this point to consider doing a partial reimbursement to both of the towns.
All right, thank you. Anything else? Sarah coming, or?
No.
She's on. Oh, I thought you had her speaking today.
No, we, that was enough last time.
Well, I love that.
No, she's working on the projects over there right now, so today's normally her day not to come in, but she is in, so, for a
Okay.
couple hours.
All right.
But I might add, we just had Board of Elections in earlier, and they spoke glowingly of GIS and all the help with the redistricting. I just wanted to relay that on to Wayne so he could take it to Sarah, because it was nice to hear of that. Not that we don't think she's wonderful anyway,
Right,
but it's good to hear from other departments.
I have, I did talk to Beth, and Mary Beth, and I did remind them that Sarah does not work for the Board of Elections, but, no, they've been going through the redistricting, and right, Sarah's been doing a lot of the mapping, and, so Kevin has helped a little bit where he can, but, you know, that's a significant project time-wise, and, we're glad to be able to help. I keep saying I'm gonna send Board of Elections a bill, but
Okay, if there's no
That's all.
other business then,
that's all I have.
all right. Ed, I have good news for you.
Wonderful. That's good. Now, since I cut short my presentation last time, do I get that, time, back? I won't. Good morning. I had just a few items to talk about this morning. This morning, we had our opening class for our second round of our EPA job training at Local 773 at the Tech Metals location. There are 23 that are enrolled. Of the 23, 17 are residents of Warren County, 5 from Washington County, and 1 from Saratoga County. The classes, just to kind of give you a flavor for this, today was a day that I would have missed if I could, was basic math and chemistry. We start with that because a lot of the programs lead into measurements, and it's important, so there's a refresher course. There's a 40-hour HAZWOPER course, EPA-led program of 16 hours, OSHA of 10-hour construction, OSHA confined space, mold abatement of 8 hours, the forklift, boom lift, scissor lift, asbestos of 40 hours, first aid, and we also, with the Department of Labor's cooperation and Chris from Warren County's One Stop, provide life skills preparing for interviews and resumes. Totally, if an individual or if Matt was to hire somebody to do all of these courses for his construction, you're talking between $5,000 to $7,500. So that all of those that attend those classes will walk away with these certificates, and we're up to 9 or 10 out of our original 25 class. We continue to work with the Department of Labor in identifying interviews and so forth. The people that have been hired from our first class are working at places from Finch Paper to Irving Tissue to Ace Hardware to CT Mail and other locations. Couple of other points.
Before you go on that, I just
Yes.
had a question. I saw all that in the paper this morning, And it said there were 60 applicants, I think?
Yes.
How does that compare to the first group you had?
Compared to we actually had more. We've had some
First group
good,
you had more.
publicity. We'll have one more class, in the springtime of, 23 to 25. The difficulty is over 25, we have to really create a second, tier of instructors, which we just don't have the funds. We had a limit on our EPA grant, and it's hopeful after we complete our third run, we will then apply for another round of EPA, monies, for this. And of course, Chair Taylor was at the first graduation, and we'll make sure and extend an invitation out for those that'd like to join in. And Tom was there, and Tom did a nice survey of a number of the residents were all over. And how many were from the, North Country that you had interviewed?
I think about 5, I interviewed 5 people.
Every time they were walking off, the platform, I was wondering what Tom was asking the people, but Tom was asking as to where they were to get a little bio, information to show that there, it was good representation. So I thank you, Tom, for doing that, countywide program. We've heard a lot about the governor's proposal of $1.5 billion. The concept by the governor was to pattern that grant after the Buffalo experience. The theory is that 3 of the 7 regional councils would each, after they're selected, receive $500 million. Now, there's been a tremendous amount of discussion, both by counties, individually and collectively. I know there were some discussions in the last couple of weeks about this. It's tied into the budget, so the legislature is going to have to approve the governor's program and the funds. The regulations are due out later this month. I think the best way to describe it, it's still in a mix of whether or not the program will remain in its present form or there will be modifications relative to the program. In talking to Paul this morning, we chatted a little bit about this, and it's not designed to replace the CFA process for bridges and roads and infrastructure, but they're really looking for a very highly innovative project, something, if you will, to akin to a third global foundry concept, or a nanotechnology, or for those that remember the history of an atom smasher. The governor really wants, now, and those took several years to develop, so we have 4 or 5 weeks to try to put something together here. So we hope we can get some clarification in order for us to proceed with an application. And talking with Kevin Garrity yesterday about that, and with Paul, we certainly will be working collectively together on this EDC in Warren County, which then the application would be submitted to the regional council, who then would accept it, reject it, modify it, and then submit it as part of the competition for this. So we'll have more information as we go along. Hopefully next month we will have our kickoff of our joint Warren-Washington County loan fund that will be administered by EDC. It's a $250,000 grant from the state, and it is mixed in with a participation by 4 banks now. We hope for 1 more bank of $250,000. It will be Glens Falls National Bank, NBT, Adirondack Trust, and Ballston Spa National Bank right now. So they're contributing money in, so we'll have a portfolio of $500,000 in addition to our LDC monies that we will work closely with Washington County on. And we're reaching final agreement with Washington County, with the banks, and with the New York State Business Development Corporation that will be assisting in these loans. Couple of events that are coming up, EDC, and I'll pass these flyers out. There are a couple of events coming up for skiers. We are working with North Creek and Gore Mountain on our annual ski day on Friday, March the 13th. Pass those around. And also on Friday, March 27th, EDC is having a hockey night with special tickets for anyone along with some updates and information on ECHL hockey. And most importantly, in our region, we have coming up next weekend the beginning of your Maple Sugar Party.
That's right.
And there's only one town that is having that right now, and that is my good friend Mike Hill and company. And so next weekend to kick off at the Eighth All United Methodist Church will be the Sugar Party. And then for 3 weekends will be the maple syrup and the pancakes and so forth. And Evelyn is the expert. It's her town. You want to comment any further on that?
I do. We don't have the Maple Sugar Party at the church. We have it at the town hall.
Oh.
And I'm there waiting tables, so if anybody wants the privilege of watching me clean tables, you could certainly come on down. But if you want to, it'll be the 14th at 4:30, and it's an all-you-can-eat buffet. The folks in town do the cooking. It's on Saturday. Starts around 4:30. Come early because the line gets long.
Okay.
And no, it's going to be a great. They're going to have a lot of the businesses will be open and everybody's ready to go. We're just hoping the trees thaw in time.
So again, what we try to do at EDC, and the county does the same, and again, all these photographs are courtesy of Kate Johnson and your tourism, and thank you, Gene, for having those wonderful photographs taken there, is that we try to actively promote events within the county, from the city of Glens Falls, the town of Queensbury, up county, as well as with our business activity that we try to create. And then speaking of that, a couple of items. Last year, EDC undertook to recognize the paper industry from Finch Prine, SCA, Irving Tissue, the loggers and the truckers from the North Country, Roselle Industries, Miller Mechanical, and it was a great turnout, but really recognizing the economic impact. Afterwards, we worked successfully with Finch Paper to on their $20 million modernization facility in Glens Falls. We worked with their application. They received a $1 million grant, and I'm happy to report that last night the Glens Falls Planning Board gave final approval for their $20 million modernization expansion project in the city. This May, we are recognizing the partnership and the collaboration between the Glens Falls Hospital and Hudson Headwater Network. So we'll be hearing from Diane Chagru, the CEO of Glens Falls Hospital, and Dr. Ruggie from Hudson Headwater for their contributions in the health field, and most importantly, together, both of those industries provide about 3,600 jobs within Warren County. Last night also, the City Planning Board heard a presentation of the Bonaccio de Bucco project, which is a 145,000 square foot complex in downtown by the hospital that will have 90 apartments, about 40,000 retail office space. It's approximately a $25 million project. And next Tuesday, Just Beverage will be having their initial presentation to the Queensbury Planning Board. And finally, but not last, is in Chester. EDC working with the town and Peckham Industries, and I'll turn it over to Fred for any comment that he'd like to make. As a Peckham Industry, on behalf of their part of the family, is working to have Chester selected as one of 5 manufacturing sites in the state for the manufacturing of medical marijuana. They would have about a 14,000 square foot building, a sizable project, very good paying jobs. Part of that is that the company also has to, it's a vertical, so they have to have a facility to grow the marijuana, to manufacture the marijuana, as well as to dispense their marijuana within their territory of up to 4 dispensing locations that they have to be set aside, set alone, so that you can't be able to pick this up at Rite Aid or Walgreens, but they are going to be able to have another location and have some other facilities unrelated to marijuana items here. So those revenues from those dispensing would come back to the county of Warren of about 22.5% in revenues for this. There's a lot of competition. There's a location up in Plattsburgh that they're working on, another competing group and also in Washington County, but there will be 5 selected, and it's very similar to the casino process that's involved, highly competitive, and the regulations are like 118 pages. It's very strictly enforced. It is not like Colorado where somebody can fly in to Denver and walk into the store and get your marijuana. There's only about 1,900 people right now in New York State that have the prescriptions. It has to go through a prescription, so it's not similar at all to some of these states where there's very broad liberal. The governor has really made it, I think Amy called it like Fort Knox in her presentation. And so Fred has been working closely on this, and you want to just give an update as to what's up?
Yeah, we had a presentation Monday night. It was by Amy Peckham and Hillary Peckham. So they're the wife and daughter of John Peckham. So
Right.
It's not Peckham Industries.
Right.
They made it clear it can't be a subsidiary
right.
of an existing corporation. It has to be individual. So they've got a second daughter, Keely, who's also involved in it. And I thought they did an excellent presentation. We had about 25, 30 people show up for the meeting, and at the end of the meeting, everyone was in favor of it. They told some stories about family members who had diseases or conditions where medical marijuana really helped. And actually some of the people in the audience said that too, this same thing. And there's a long list of medications in the legislation, a long list of conditions, including cancer, chemo drugs, nausea, epilepsy, Lou Gehrig's disease, a whole list of diseases or conditions where medical marijuana can be a great help to people in controlling their pain and controlling muscle spasms. And so then they talked about the procedure, and the growing would be indoors, they said. It would be hydroponic and possibly with some soil growing. And as Ed mentioned, it has to be vertically integrated, so they have to grow the marijuana, process it into an oil, cannabis oil, and then it is made into pill form or tinctures, sprays, no smoking it. And it's very tightly controlled, it has to be very tight security. They've got an extremely short timeline because this successful candidates, 5 in New York, have to be up and running and producing by January 1. So the state really will have to make a selection by July in order for that to happen because, and it's probably got to be in an existing building. There's a large, like 7,000 square foot horse barn on this property. And it's property that we identified probably 12 or 13 years ago as where we wanted to locate industry or commercial properties and created a industrial park there, got it pre-approved by the APA. But where they're going to do this is actually not in that 17-lot subdivision. It's just north of it, but it's still on the property that we rezoned industrial. So it's in a good location. It's a product that I think is going to help a lot of people. It's they've said 25 to 30 jobs initially, and they expect it to expand. There's an excise tax of 7%. 22.5% of that would go to the county. And if it's just a manufacturing facility in the growing, if they also have a dispensary in Warren County, it would be another 22.5%. So it's up to 45%. It would go to the county. So I think it's something that the full board should hear about this, and I would like to have them appear at our next full board meeting to talk about it and to have all the supervisors be able to ask questions about it. But it was very well received in Chester, and I think it's a good thing. It's going to create jobs. It's where we want the jobs, and some revenue for the county and help for patients.
Brad, I'm just curious, any other drug that's new has to go through the FDA testing process and be approved by FDA. Are we setting up another source of control other than the FDA, or?
I guess I don't know the answer to that question. They talked about what jobs would be involved, and there definitely would be chemical engineers, and there's definitely a testing program, and they have to prove the purity. But I don't know, FDA, I guess I don't know the answer to that. Whether that's,
Department of
FDA
Health is in charge of
Yeah.
issuing all of the permits and overseeing the process, including the manufacturing process. And, while there may be some, FDA involvement, it is, very, rather limited, in this respect. Each of the states has undertaken this, individually outside, really, the federal government. Because you have that issue, and you might have seen that in Washington DC, between members of Congress who have legislation that are indicating that, employees and others can't be using marijuana, and yet Washington DC is enacting some marijuana legislation there, so there's a conflict built in here. So this is really outside the scope of FDA.
Right, and the other thing that has to happen is that the manufacturer, if Peckham gets, approved, they have to be certified, and also the patients do also. And they prescribe just a 30-day supply, has to be kept in its original package, to, in an attempt to control how it's used.
Were you asking if the FDA would have to see if this was effective, the efficacy of it?
Well,
Is that what you're asking?
I guess I don't know, I was asking if the FDA would have to approve it.
Well, there's a long list,
Yeah.
actually I have it in my coat, there's a long list of medical organizations that have supported it, that have determined that it is
Well,
safe and effective.
I talked to a doctor about this.
Excuse me?
32, it's up to 32 states,
Yeah.
I think now, Tom, or maybe, yeah.
What I was gonna say is doctors can already write prescriptions for this, so it's not like it has to go through any hurdles, it's just,
As a new drug.
as a new drug, it's already, I mean, you could go to a doctor now, if, you could convince them to do it, you could write a prescription.
One of the things that, and I think the suggestion by Fred, if the county desires to weigh in on this, is very helpful, because one of the factors, just like when we're individually in the towns are doing CFA applications to show general support, and one of the things that the Peckham family has said, that they would not pursue this if there was opposition, to their project beginning in Chester and through Warren County as well. That's helpful, and I know some of the other competing applications are in the process or have received not only the town approvals of where they're proposing the project, but also on a regional basis by a county as well for that to occur there. But again, it's a very highly competitive situation. They have put together a team of experts. The consultant they're using is from New Jersey, that actually has consulted with other states in other projects in a number of other states, and they have put a team of counsel together, as well as representatives in Albany. So they've done this in a very, professional way, much as we know the Peckham industry itself has been here in Warren County for years and years, and has done a very good job in the roads for Warren County and the region.
A T-shirt at home is gonna be right in vogue now. It says Uncle Bud's Hep Farm.
Well, I think you answered President Hogan. Are you looking for support from this board to put this forward to the full
Yes.
board? Because I think we should support it, and I think the county should too.
Yes.
Somebody wanna make a resolution to move it forward? You can't.
No, I want to make
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? Good. No? Oh.
And
All in
I guess
favor?
the only other thing is, I would ask that we invite them to the meeting next meeting, I guess it's the 20th.
Yeah. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And maybe if they get some
Carried.
preparation of material later.
No.
I just wanted to say, about 25 years ago, when I met my wife in her family owned that property. I never thought that
Yeah.
in my wildest dreams did I ever see this, but it's a great,
I never thought I'd see Fred Monroe being a proponent.
don't you think I was watching from the
Yeah.
sidelines to see what?
Yeah. No, I know a number of people who, you know, I'm sure used it illegally because it was the only thing that relieved the nausea from chemotherapy and other things, and it's unfortunate that people have to go to that length and do something that's illegal to get any kind of relief, so I think it's a good thing, and all the medical people seem to be in favor of it.
Anything else, Ed?
That's my report. I'll answer any questions or
Okay, any
comments.
other comments? All right, motion adjourned. Evelyn, John, all in favor? Opposed, carried. Good, I love that.